Supriya, thank you for joining me today at Pop Culture Unplugged.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so
Uh,
excited to be here.
Exciting times. I'm excited that this is your first interview ever.
Yeah, it is. I've never been important enough to interview, so this is absolutely a new experience for me.
Amazing times. We see you on the Pit, which we'll talk about in a few minutes. But I was doing some research on you, everything. Acting with the acting world wasn't always a thing for you at first. I saw somewhere that you were pre-med or something, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I grew up in India, and I always knew I wanted to be an actor, but I was trying to figure out how to like get to America to do it.
Yeah.
And one of the ways was my parents said, okay, fine, we'll essentially like send you off to college if you do something that actually pays you real money. And I mean, I was pretty good at biology. It's still something I really love, and I really enjoyed studying the sciences, and so I ended up going down the pre-med track. I majored in neuroscience, and yeah, really funny how that actually ended up being super helpful for booking this part.
So what made you get into acting then? How did that happen?
I mean, I always kind of was into it as a kid. So growing up in Delhi, Delhi has like this really vibrant theater scene. And I ended up, like taking part in a few plays here and there. And then when I came to New York, while I was studying to be a doctor, and how that turned out, I ended up auditioning for student theater while I was there. And I don't know, it was just that pull of like, oh God, it just feels like something is telling me to do this and go down this path. And so I started auditioning professionally while I was still in school, which was kind of crazy. And yeah, started booking a couple things here and there, and it's been a wild ride.
Next thing you know, now you have a role on the Pit.
Yeah, I mean, it felt really slow while I was in it. I remember like feeling like things weren't happening as fast as I wanted, and the pandemic happened and the strike happened, and it
Yeah.
was just so much setback. And then I finally got this role, and then looking back, I'm sort of like, wait, that was like no time at all. Like I wish I had some time to like experience life before things started, taking off for me like this. But yeah.
So how did the Pit happen? Was it an audition or was somebody that you knew that like, hey, like we might have a role for you?
So my agent sent me the script,
Okay.
and I remember reading it, and I just felt like if I don't get to do this, I'm gonna die. Because the real time aspect of it just hooked me so instantly. I was like, this has never been done before, and I always knew I wanted to do something that was new and fresh. And so I really grabbed onto that part of it, and also it was really hard for me to audition to play doctors before I auditioned for the show because something would always be off. And I didn't know enough to like know exactly why it's off, but it would sort of be like, this wouldn't happen. This feels fake. Like this, it makes no sense that they do this drug because I know that drug does something else. And so
Mm.
it would always like be hard for me to suspend my disbelief. But I remember my audition side was it was a trauma scene. It was actually the first trauma scene that you kind of see me leading in episode one. And I just remember doing it. And I was like, oh my God, someone with a medical degree was involved with this.
Hmm.
It's there was a flow of logic. It was like step one, step two, step three. And yeah, I just knew I had to be a part of it. Yeah.
Well, what was the description you were given for Dr. Mohan?
That she was really knowledgeable and empathetic, and that she was also a little bit of a workaholic, which I really sympathize and understand with. I think she's a little bit of an overachiever, a little lonely, doesn't really have a lot of friends because of her workaholic tendencies. And so I really, I think, related to that part of her because I could see that as a version of myself had I gone to
Mm.
medical school. That was really how I understood her. I was just like, okay, I think, if I hadn't taken this sudden left turn and actually explored myself and, let loose a little, I think I would have been that. And it's a
Mm.
it's a very weird feeling realizing you and this other version of yourself probably wouldn't be friends. So that's also been a weird thing to realize as I have been playing her.
Mm. So in the series, she's what is she, a third year resident doing her
Mhm.
residency. How do there's a lot of high pressure in this series, especially in the ER. Like, how do you jump in to play a character like this? And I know you've had there's doctors on set for
Yes.
advice and everything, because I spoke to Jalen from the Pit also, and he was telling me you guys have people on there to pretty much tell you how things are in the ER.
Yeah, and I mean, the thing is, it feels like it's a lot of pressure, and it is, and it feels like it's a lot of anxiety, and there definitely is. But I mean, that's real, you
Mm,
know? So we never really shied away from those uncomfortable feelings. And I do think the medical team that we have behind the scenes is just so amazing. We even have real nurses on set, in a lot of scenes. So, if there was anything that was confusing, we could just always ask. And so I just feel so grateful that we had such a strong support system to help us through to me it was really daunting, just like the medical complexity of it. So I have
yeah.
no idea how my castmates did it all.
Yeah. So I noticed like with your character too, like some of the scenes that are like, you should be under pressure. Your character seems calm though through the situations.
Yes, she is calm, and I think she also moves slowly.
Mm,
um, in order to like keep calm. And there is something about that I think is really interesting to play with. Like I think everyone is moving quickly because I mean in the ER time is money.
right.
You have to move through patients and you have to make decisions quick. She I think doesn't let herself go there. We will see if that changes. Don't want to spoil anything too much.
Yeah.
But she doesn't really let herself go there, I think, because she's just so worried about making a mistake.
Mhm.
That's how I always understood it. Like it's analysis paralysis, right? It's
Right.
I need to make sure that I'm doing the right thing at the right time for everyone because I need to make sure I'm not going to make a mistake. And there's
Mm,
reasons in her own history as to why she feels that way, and I think also reasons that have to do with racial justice, which she cares deeply about. I think she just really wants to make sure she's doing the best by her patients in every capacity. But
mm,
what I also love about the show is that it shows the flip side of that. It's actually quite hard to do that in an ER, right? I think I was worried that the character would come off as like like everyone would be like, oh my gosh, like she's amazing, she spends time with her patients. As a patient I would love that, right?
yeah.
Worried that they wouldn't communicate like the flip side of that, which is that I'm actually like a burden to the rest of the hospital staff a little bit, because I don't let them move at the pace that they really need to.
Mm. Can you tell us a little bit about like that? I think it was episode 5, the intubation scene that you're involved in. Tell us a little bit
Mhm.
about that.
Oh my God, that was actually so hard to film because it's crazy. You have to like pretend you're doing an intubation,
Yeah.
um, when there is no tube down this person's throat and there is no laryngoscope, geez, down this person's throat. So it definitely is like a little bit of VFX involved in there. But also, I mean, Ashley, who plays Joyce, the sickle cell patient, was just such an amazing guest star to work with, and she really, was so nice about me having to like put like shortened things down her mouth. Yeah, I mean it's incredible because I feel like the show doesn't cut away from like the gory medical stuff in ways that other shows do, but also as an actor, that's kind of tricky, right? Because you really need to make sure you're getting things right. Um, and I love that they intercut like this very clean planned intubation I had with the really messy one
Mm.
that Dr. Langdon was doing in the other trauma, because it just sort of shows you like the extent of how like a simple procedure can look really different depending on the circumstances.
How do you think your character like blend, like not blends, but like struggles and balances between, you also have some interns under you, and you're also you're still learning also.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was episode 4 where I do feel like that hierarchy was
Yeah.
kind of established. And I think you're absolutely right. Like it is this weird thing where I'm still learning, but I still know more than the interns, and I mean honestly even R2s, and so I have to communicate to them what I know and what they don't. Whether she has the interpersonal skills to do that effectively is absolutely debatable, and I think also shows as to why some of the doctors maybe are like put off by her in
Mm,
certain ways. Like I think she is like really lonely because she doesn't hasn't really got that social life figured out. And I think it's also interesting because I'm a bit on the younger side playing an R3, but I have people under me that are, older than me. McKay has lived like this totally full life before becoming a doctor, and Samira hasn't really had that. She kind of just kept going, 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 and has just been totally immersed in her work.
is there the when I notice the pit also tackles like like real world issues also. Has there been one like when you're like, wow, like I never thought about seeing something like this, like that's happened?
Yeah, I'm getting emotional thinking about it. The sickle cell scene was really it was really impactful for me because I learned about sickle cell, as a pre-med student, and
Yeah.
like I can tell you like what the point mutation is and what amino acid gets replaced with which amino acid and how that changes the shape of the hemoglobin, and I can tell you all those things textually, and I knew that this is a disease that namely mainly affected the Black population, but I didn't really know, or I didn't really put two and two together of like how that could be racialized because it is such a painful disease. And like I mean, and the limitations of my own experience, right? Like I did not even like put myself in the shoes of someone who has sickle cell, who is Black, who might be coming to a hospital asking for pain medication, and they're just
Mm.
instantly dismissed and seen as drug seeking and racialized in a certain way. So, when it's one thing to learn about it, and then I came on set and I mean, I was given this incredible opportunity to present something like this to the viewers, and also, like the medical population. Like it's just great that like people could watch this and then maybe treat a sickle cell patient differently. And I just am so blown away that they did that and they did it really intelligently.
So at the same time, you're also learning while you're acting too.
Oh yeah. It's really funny. I was thinking about, maybe applying to medical school this year or last year because I just didn't really know where my career was going. And now I always joke that like I'm kind of being put through medical school
Yeah.
regardless. So, it kind of happened either way.
Who do you think she has like the strongest bond with on the show?
I mean, this is like really sad to say, but honestly, maybe no one. Like she doesn't really have a lot, like I think she has the strongest bond with her patients. I think there's something to be said in that, uh Joyce and her wife Ondine are both her age and people that could be her friends, but she doesn't really have that outside of work, like it's it's so sad for me to like really think about how absolutely lonely she is. I mean, if anything, I think she might have like the strongest bond with Robbie because I
Hmm.
think, she's missing like this father figure in her life because of the death of her father, and Robbie, I think, represents that to her in some ways, which is why I think it is so devastating to her when he disapproves of her of any way, because
Hmm.
I think like she's maybe like projecting this thing onto him, um but I'm not sure if it's like a two-way bond. I think it might just be like a one-way bond right now.
When you joined the series and the cast, did Noah Wiley give you any advice or anything to joining a project like this?
Oh, I mean, he just told us to really soak it all in,
Hmm.
um, and remember remember like where we came from, and to not let it like get to our head while we're soaking it all in. I mean, he's just been such an amazing leader. I cannot say enough good things about him. I feel like you hear all these experiences of number ones on shows that can be that can make or break your experience, and I mean, I'm just so bowled away by how lucky I have been. He's just been such an amazing guiding light through all of this.
How do you guys try to pack 15 hours in 1 hour episode or 15-hour shift?
in a 15-hour shift in
Yeah.
and yeah, I mean it's actually psychotic to like really explain because it is a continuity mindfuck, right? Am I allowed
Mm.
to swear?
That's okay. That's okay.
Sorry. I mean, it is just such an incredible challenge. We have to make sure we look the same every day for
Mm.
7 months. Like a pimple that I get on my face has much, further consequences
Yeah.
than, it might on another show. And we can't I mean, Noah always says we're like Disney princesses. We can't like gain or lose weight,
Right.
really do anything. And I mean, it's incredible just the way the props and set design and set dressing has all come together to make sure everything is continuous. They were using black lights
Mm.
to mark where individual tiny like props were, so that you can only really see in a UV light like
Yeah.
where things are, just to make sure we're putting things in the right places. Yeah, it's totally crazy, and it's been very weird to like, you leave the set, which I wish I could almost like show you photos of the set.
Yeah.
It is a stage. Like there's no, it's just like a full hospital floor. Like I'm almost like, should we donate this? Like most of the
Mm.
equipment works, like should we give this away? So you go to the hospital and you live how many ever like minutes or hours or whatever that you're living in that moment, and then you leave, and then you live your life, and then you come back and it's like nothing's changed.
Mm.
Like that person who's on that gurney has been on that gurney for like 5 months, even though in Showtime it's what, probably like 6 episodes. It's just
Yeah.
it's totally insane.
Mm. That's awesome. How would you describe like her journey like for this whole season, would you say?
Um, I think without giving too many spoilers, I think she becomes, actually I don't know if I could say
Yeah.
that. I might be giving too many spoilers, and that I mean people just have to wait and see.
Yeah. Is there anything you would change about her if they told you, hey, change something about her?
Honestly, no. I think she just represents something that is, like her or hate her,
Mm.
is just, important to show on an emergency floor like this. So I wouldn't change a thing about her. I think, even though her and I maybe wouldn't be friends, I have like such deep empathy for her.
Mm.
And I think Scott has just written like this amazing character, and the entire writing team is just amazing and phenomenal. So I wouldn't change anything about her.
Would
Maybe
you
her
let her
clothes.
would you let her be your doctor?
Yeah, I would absolutely let her be my doctor, just not my friend.
Yeah.
I'd maybe change her clothes.
Yeah.
That was actually the biggest thing that was like the biggest decision I made in creating her, where I was like, okay, if she doesn't have a life, she absolutely has no time to shop, unlike me. And I just picked like a bunch of really mismatched, odd things to put on her, so she just like
Yeah.
feels like a little off-putting in a weird way. Um, that's probably what I would change, but that's just me being selfish and potentially vain.
So if we see a season two, is there anything you could tease about like what you want to see with the character or what or something that you hope they add down the road?
I mean, I have fingers crossed for season two. I don't know. I mean, I've been so focused on season one that
Yeah.
I haven't thought about season two at all. We actually just wrapped yesterday
Oh
as of
wow.
filming this, so it's kind of been so crazy. So I haven't even thought about where where I hope she goes.
Mm.
Yeah, there's been a lot of whispers, but we haven't heard anything official as of yet.
So what's next for you now? Are you taking a little break or you got something else you're about to go work on that you're allowed to tell us about?
I haven't booked anything, but I'm going back to New York, and I'm so excited about that. I miss New York so much. I've been there for like 10 years now. I maybe have earned a New Yorker card. I don't know. I But I love being there and I love my little apartment and I'm just so excited to be back home and see all my friends because I left very suddenly. I found out that I got this show while I was on vacation in
Okay.
Europe, and right when my vacation ended is when I had to be in Los Angeles, and so I was like texting my friends and just being like, "Hey, see ya in 7 months," actually. And
There you
so
go.
and so it's gonna be nice to like go back and like reconnect with people and just, live my life.
Listen, this by how can the listeners and viewers now find you on social media, keep up with you? I saw you were posting a few pictures on the show.
Oh yeah, I'm on Instagram. I'm also on Twitter, though maybe don't follow me on there. I don't want to get canceled. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Amazing. I want to thank you for giving a few minutes today. And if we see season two or a new project, let's get you back on. Let's continue this chat.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. This was so lovely. Thank you for making my first interview ever so such a
Yeah.
calm experience.
Yeah.